I never imagined my Saturday morning would start with a call to a tow truck and a backhoe, but then again, I hadn't counted on Sylvia showing up in my life either. It was early September 2023 in the quiet outskirts of Willow Creek, a small town just outside Boise, Idaho. I'd just finished my coffee, ready to head out to feed the goats, when I spotted it. A silver Lexus RX parked sloppily across my driveway gate, like it was posing for a car ad on someone else's land. It blocked my path so perfectly I couldn't have squeezed my pickup through even if I tried. For a good minute, I just stood there, staring, hoping some logical explanation would appear out of nowhere. Nothing did, just that gleaming SUV, mocking me in the morning sun like it owned the place. I knew exactly who it belonged to. Sylvia, real name Samantha, was the queen bee of the Neighborhood Homeowners Association, living 5 houses down in a sprawling modern farmhouse that screamed curated perfection, from its quartz countertops to its oversized seasonal wreaths. She ruled the HOA's Community Standards Committee like a dictator in designer sandals. Her reign of terror included fining me for my unkempt mailbox and scolding my neighbor for planting wildflowers that didn't match the approved palette. Recently, she declared herself the czar of the town's fall festival, which apparently gave her the right to turn private driveways into her personal parking lot. I grabbed my hat, marched down the dirt path, and turned toward the community green. Sure enough, there was a petting zoo, picnic tables, a spread of artisanal cupcakes, and a gaggle of overdressed locals milling about like they were at a charity gala. And there she was, Sylvia, in a blinding coral dress with sequins, clutching a tablet like it was the key to the kingdom. I approached her, keeping my tone as even as a man who'd already decided pleasantries were a waste of breath. "Hey, Sylvia," I said, "your Lexus is blocking my gate." She blinked at me like I'd just spoken in code, then flashed that condescending smile of hers. "Oh, that? We ran out of parking by the green, and your place was so convenient. We figured you wouldn't mind. It's just for a few hours." "I do mind," I said. "I've got animals to feed, a hay delivery coming, and a gate I can't get through." She waved me off like I was a pesky mosquito. "You're not using it right now, are you? Relax, join us later. We've got craft cider and a violinist." I held her gaze, my patience thinning. "Move the car." She sighed, all theatrical, like I was ruining her masterpiece. "I'm in the middle of hosting, and my husband's at a conference. The car's locked anyway. Just wait until dusk, okay?" I could have argued, could have called the HOA board, but I'd been down that road before. Sylvia wasn't new to this Gamesh, been pulling stunts like this since I moved here. But this time, she'd picked the wrong fight. I turned, walked back home, and made 2 calls. One to a towing company I'd used when a camper got dumped near my fence last year. The other to a friend, Jake, who owned a construction company and owed me a favor. By the time the tow truck rolled up, a small crowd of neighbors had gathered, sipping rose and whispering like they were at a reality TV shoot. I pointed the driver to my back field, where he could bypass the gate entirely. He grinned when he saw the Lexus. "You sure about this?" he asked, chuckling. "Dead sure," I said. "Hook it up." Before he could even start, a scream cut through the air. Sylvia was sprinting down the street, her heels wobbling, her sequin dress flashing like a disco ball. "You can't tow my car," she shrieked. "This is an HOA community. There are rules. You blocked my private gate," I said, calm as stone. "I've got cameras, timestamps, and half the neighborhood as witnesses. You're on my property." Her face turned the color of a ripe plum. "I'll sue." She spat at the driver, who just shrugged and said, "He's got the right. Call the cops if you want." She did. Of course she did. When the deputy arrived, I showed him the footage on my phone. He barely glanced at it before turning to Sylvia. "Ma'am, you're on his land. He's within his rights." Sylvia let out a noise that could have shattered glass. The tow truck winched her Lexus up, and she tried everything, yelling, bribing the driver, even accusing me of harassment. The deputy just gave her that exhausted look cops reserve for repeat offenders. The Lexus was hauled off to the impound lot, and I went back to feeding my goats, grinning as half the neighborhood cheered from their porches. But I knew Sylvia. This wasn't the end. She wasn't the type to let a public defeat slide. 2 days later, a letter arrived, an HOA complaint accusing me of unauthorized machinery use and creating a hazardous environment by towing her car. It was signed by Sylvia and her trio of loyal minions, demanding a $1,500 fine and a hearing. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. Then I checked my security cameras. There she was, Sylvia, sneaking around my property at night in a hoodie, taping a sign to my oak tree that read, "Beware, hostile resident." I printed the footage, started a file, and called an old friend, Martin, who'd been ousted as HOA president by Sylvia's shady tactics the year before. He had dirt years of emails, meeting recordings, and proof of her overreach. "She's never been challenged like this," he told me. "You're shaking her world." "Good," I said. "Let's shake it harder." Sylvia doubled down, flooding my mailbox with petty citations. My trash cans were out too early, my fence was non-compliant, my wind chimes were disruptive. She even claimed my goats were loitering excessively. It was absurd, but she was building a case. What she didn't know was that I was building a better one. My property wasn't even under HOA jurisdiction. It was grandfathered in as agricultural land, exempt unless I signed a compliance agreement, which I never had. I hired a lawyer to draft a cease and desist letter, citing property law and jurisdictional overreach. We sent it by mail, email, and a courier in a sharp suit for extra flair. Sylvia's response? She called an emergency HOA meeting to ban me from community events I didn't even attend. Then she sent 2 landscapers to inspect my hedges for code violations. I sent them away with iced tea and a chuckle. But her next move was bold, even for her. She threw another Eventa community harmony picnic and parked her new black Lexus inside my gate, on my pasture, via a side access road. She'd set up tables and a bounce house right on my land, like she was daring me to react. I didn't storm over. I just watched from my fence as Jake pulled up with his flatbed, hauling a gleaming 15-ton backhoe. "Subtle or spectacle?" he asked. "Spectacle," I said, climbing into the cab. The engine roared, heads turned, and Sylvia froze mid-speech. I drove slowly, deliberately, dropping the bucket just enough to scatter her picnic setup. Tables tipped, a fruit platter flew, and a piñata rolled into the grass. I nudged her Lexus's bumper, leaving a dent just deep enough to make a point. Then I backed off, stepped down, and called out, "Just clearing my property, folks. Won't take long." The crowd erupted. Some cheered, kids laughed, and one guy tossed me a beer. Sylvia screamed, "You're a lunatic. You'll pay for this." "Didn't touch your car," I said. "Check the cameras." She stormed off, vowing lawsuits. At the HOA hearing a week later, she demanded a $4,000 fine for vandalism and disrupting community peace. I countered with my easement records, sheriff's statement, and footage of her trespassing. Then I filed a motion to remove her from the Standards Committee for Abuse of Power. The board voted 5-1 in my favor. Sylvia's face didn't just fall, it imploded. For once, she was speechless. But she wasn't done. The next day, my mailbox was smashed, a glittery note taped to it. "Follow the rules now." I replaced it with a steel one bolted in concrete and posted a photo online with the caption, "Built to withstand HOA tantrums." The neighborhood rallied behind me, and Sylvia's grip slipped. She tried a petition to reinstate herself, got 3 signatures, and sent an unhinged email accusing the board of conspiring with anarchists. When that failed, she filed a county complaint, claiming I was running an illegal farm operation. The inspector found nothing, hinting she'd been spamming his office with nonsense. Then I found her weak spot. Her prized garden trellis, draped in roses, extended onto a public easement. I reported it with photos and measurements. A week later, a city notice ordered its removal. Sylvia tore it down herself, fuming as neighbors watched. Desperate, she ran for HOA president with a flyer promising to restore order. I ran against her, my slogan simple, "Live and let live." My flyers featured my dog, a hay bale, and promises not to police anyone's lawn decor. I won 68-10. Sylvia didn't show up to concede. Her house went up for sale the next day. But the real twist came later. Digging through old HOA files, I found Sylvia's plan to reroute a drainage system through my land for a developer's profit. She'd sold her house to an LLC she secretly controlled, aiming to pressure me into selling. I reported it to a friend in real estate compliance. The county launched an investigation for fraud, freezing her property and blacklisting her developer ally. Sylvia vanished to a coastal gated community, her house auctioned off to a neighbor who turned it into a pottery studio. Peace settled in. The HOA became a place for potlucks, not power trips. My goat tours became a town tradition, and nobody cared about unapproved mailboxes anymore. Sylvia's legacy of control faded, replaced by barbecues and kids on scooters. I served one term as president, rewrote the rules, then stepped down to enjoy my porch, my land, and my quiet. But here's where it gets messy. Was I too harsh, bulldozing her picnic to make a point? Should I have let the law handle it all, or was a public stand the only way to stop her? And what about her side? Did she think she was saving the neighborhood from undesirables like me? Comment below. Was I the hero or just another guy with a backhoe and a grudge? Like, share, and subscribe for more stories where the little guy fights back or becomes the villain.